You think talk could slow us up? Nuh-uh, never that, not in this lifetime. Thought the game was dead, it just got new lifeline. I revive that real shit, y'all deprived from real shit. Small hood to all good, we strive like Will Smith. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, flow sick, need healthcare. They ain't got nothing for the kid, I'm gonna need welfare.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Maximilian Must Know. Got a really interesting fragrance today, one that has already received some very good Fragcom coverage. The perfumer is well liked, as well as the scent, and what we're talking about is a fragrance called Konig from the House of Yosh. Now, this is my first Yosh scent, first one I've actually ever gotten my nose on as well. I wanted to smell Sombra Negra for a long time, just never got around to it. But Adriana from Decant Shop, she has this on her store, and she told me she loved it and I should go and sniff it. And I went to Barney's, got my nose on it really briefly, and just decided to purchase it. You know, I think it's priced to sell for a niche fragrance of the quality that it is, and it is an eau de parfum concentration. Now, before we talk about Konig, real quick, let's talk about the house. Started by a female perfumer named Yosh, 1994. She walked into a fragrance shop in Colorado, and she just knew that it was her destiny to be in the fragrance industry in some way, shape, or form. So she began an apprenticeship learning about perfumery, both as an artist and really for the healing properties of essential oils. And in 2004, she started her house called Yosh. She only releases scents that are of the finest quality using the best ingredients she can get. The first fragrance from the house came out in 2006, and the latest came out in 2013. Now, I could be wrong about this, but I believe the only retail outlets for these scents in the United States are Lucky Scent, Barney's, and a couple of online retailers. So, as I said, I had to go to Barney's to sniff this out. This is only available in one size. It's 50 ml size. Again, EDP strength, and the retail on this guy is $130. The scent evidently was made as an homage to kings, but more specifically, it is meant to be an olfactory journey through a deep and dark Bavarian forest during the time of medieval kings, and it's supposed to capture the dual nature of a man who was both a hunter and a gentleman. And this is the second fragrance in Yosh's M series. Now, as far as your presentation goes, you're going to get a box that says Yosh Konig. It's going to have a batch code on the bottom. It's going to have a little bit of information on the top. San Francisco, California. The website, made in the USA. Nothing else. And then you get this little slide out thing where this just slides out. The booklet is in here about Yosh perfume, and that's where you're going to find your fragrance sitting. So a pretty simple fragrance, a pretty simple presentation. Your bottle is also very similar. Yosh Konig, batch code on the bottom, nothing on the sides, light cap, and a fairly good atomizer. You know, not the best one I've ever used, not the worst one I've ever used. It's going to get the fragrance on your skin, and it's going to disperse it, and that's pretty much all you can ask for. Notes on Konig are aromatic bitters, sage, cypress, apple, smoked papyrus, snowflower, bois de langue, vetiver, white musk, saddle leather, amber, and firewood. And just a quick note on the note that is aromatic bitters, which I've never seen in a fragrance before. Aromatic bitters are a very old cocktail ingredient. They're sort of used like seasoning in cocktails. So like almost every old-fashioned style of cocktail called for bitters of some sort. You know, cocktail was basically spirit, sugar, water, and bitters. The martini called for orange bitters. Plenty of cocktails, specifically some like the Manhattan and the old-fashioned, call for aromatic bitters. And the most famous brand of aromatic bitters is Angostura, which come from Trinidad. They, as I'm sure you can guess already, are extremely bitter. They're made up of roots and extracts like Angostura bark, cinnamon, cloves, licorice, and they're seasoning for cocktails, the same way we use salt and pepper for food. So if you were to eat soup without salt, you can't necessarily taste it when you're eating the soup, but if it wasn't there, you'd notice it. And that's sort of the same thing with bitters. You know, you might not taste them per se, but you'll know if they're not there. And when I was a drinker, I just loved classic cocktails and mixology. I had a pretty nice collection of bitters of all different sorts: celery bitters, orange bitters, cherry bitters, chocolate mole bitters, grapefruit bitters, mint bitters, and of course I had multiple types of aromatic bitters. And right when I actually stopped drinking, I was making my own bitters for a while, and I was seriously considering bottling them and selling them because they turned out really, really good. And to me, Konig is just an absolutely fantastic fragrance. I mean, you know, wow is all I can say. I'm going to try to explain it to you as best as possible, and here's how I can do that, I think. Imagine the quality of a vetiver scent, something like Sycamore by Chanel, with some full apple bushels in it and some burning woods in the mix. And that's what I get out of Konig. You know, it's one of the, I think, best niche scents I've gotten my hands on. I've heard some people say this reminds them of baked apples, and I get that, but what I get more is campfire, forest, vetiver, and apple. And that could sound a little jumbled, but a skilled perfumer like Yosh was able to pull this off wonderfully. And the other thing that I think is awesome about this fragrance is how versatile it is. You'd think that something built around burnt woods and vetiver would only work in the fall or winter, but the apples actually make this light, so you can pull this off in the spring. I'm not sure if I would advise you to wear this in the summer when it's really hot, but I think the spring is fine time to wear this fragrance. I also get absolutely fantastic performance from Konig. 8 to 10 hours is the usual, and it projects well for that time and gives me a very nice sillage bubble. Vetiver, I think, is a note that perfumers like to use because there's so much you can do with vetiver. You can make it really light and refreshing like Creed did with original vetiver. You can make it really earthy and dirty like Lalique did with Encre Noire. You can make it almost church-like Artisan Parfumé did with Coeur de Vetiver Sacra. Or you can turn it into a gourmand like Jean-Claude Elena did with Vetiver Tonka. And now Yosh has come along and put her own nice little spin on vetiver by adding some baked apples to the mix and some burning wood. Great scent. This would be a great scent for people who love designer fragrances and are hesitant to delve into niche territory because it just smells really good. You're going to get some compliments on this. There's nothing scary or bizarre or outlandish about this one. It's just a really good, comforting, well-priced fragrance. I think $130 for the 50 ml. This is a really good deal. You know, I wish there were more retailers in New York City that sold Yosh. As I said, I think Barney's is the only one, but definitely could be wrong. As far as how I want to rate Konig, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. You know, the only criticisms I could have is that I'd love to see 100 ml of this priced accordingly. I obviously would like Yosh's fragrance to have a little bit better availability, and perhaps I would like a little bit of a nicer presentation maybe. And not that there's anything wrong with this presentation the way it is, but, you know, for a 10 out of 10, I think that would probably make it a perfect fragrance in my eyes. But even as is, it's very close. There's nothing out there that I've ever gotten my hands on that smells like Konig. I find it to be very unique. I find it to be of a very high quality, and I definitely want to check out more from Yosh. The sales associate at Barney's did give me a couple, I think 3 or 4 samples of Sombre Negra, and I have checked that out, and I've enjoyed that as well. And, you know, this sort of taught me a lesson in humility that sometimes you don't have to go for the houses or the fragrances that are the most hype. You know, there are a lot of houses out there that you can get great value out of, like Yosh, and Yosh has been such a friend to the online fragrance community. You know, I watched a video not too long ago where Carlos from The Good Smells did an interview with her. She seems so nice and down to earth, and I know so many people have just told me such wonderful things about Yosh. I think Fragrance Bros did some videos where she sent them stuff, so I love to support perfumers who are this friendly to what we do and to what I do. online and reviewing fragrances, because that's not always the case. And while I would never twist a review because of those sorts of relationships, it makes it a lot easier for me to be happy about getting a fragrance like this and talking about it with such high esteem. So definitely check Konig out if you have already not. If you like vetiver and you like apples, and you just want like a nice sort of spring or fall scent that really captures will capture attention for you, because nothing else smells like this. You should really check this out. I think it's a great price for a niche fragrance, and I think it's a great fragrance, and I think it's totally original and just very well pulled off. So check out Konig, check out Yosh. I will see you guys next week for 2 more videos. I am Maximilian.
Ego growing every day, keep on your tall heels. Bring her ecstasy like she geeked off for 4 pills. Snuck her from the blind side, screeched off on 4 wheels. I'm so ill, too slick, with balls I get lost.